Hey, it's Central Valley Business. I'm your host, Steve Walling. My guest for this segment is Peter Robles with Certified Forklift Training Center. I want to make sure I got that right. Certified Forklift Training Center. Pete, thanks for being on the show, and thanks for coming back. It's been a while since you've been on. Before we really get into the details of today, let's talk about why. I mean, come on, a forklift. We see them at Costco and everywhere else. What is the do we really need to be certified or have training on a forklift in today's work environment?
Absolutely. It's critical. The way shipments are passed out to various different distribution centers, even in the markets and so on, you've got the general public at large walking around on both sides of the aisle.
Well, you know, I have seen that, as a matter of fact.
And they fail to realize that they're placing themselves at risk.
Right.
How much training has that person had on that forklift, or if he's had any training at all? That's certainly a legitimate question.
And, okay, that's on the employer side, you know, having trained personnel running when there's particularly the possibility of the public being injured. But what about for the young man or young woman that decides, you know, that there's a lot of jobs out there, and I've been going through, and forklift operation seems to be part of the job description. Yeah, I should be able to just go down there and do that, right?
You would think, but if things have changed. Years ago, it wasn't required or mandated in any way, shape, or form. But now things have changed because of the amount of commodities that are being moved and the types they are. Some of biohazards exist. There's just loads that were stacked improperly. They have to be dealt with as well.
And you know,
where does that come from?
Some of those forklift machines today are a little more creative in their design than what they used to be, too.
Absolutely.
Which I would imagine then means if I'm going to learn how to operate, it's not just generally the one little type of forklift, but there's multiple kinds I really should maybe have a little experience on.
Right. We primarily give that basic training that for the forklift without all the bells and whistles. On the other hand, we introduce them to the knowledge that there are a lot of attachments that take the forklift out of the realm of just being a plain, simple piece of equipment and specialize it.
Right. So, okay, you know, maybe I've applied for a job and my potential employer has told me that I'm going to have some kind of certification on a forklift, or maybe I'm watching this particular segment, or I've talked to some of my friends. They say, you know, there's some good employment out there, you know, that, you know, having this as a part of your resume is going to enhance your ability to be hired. Where do I go to get trained? Oh, I go to Certified Forklift Training. Well, when can I go get trained?
Well, actually, you can pretty much go get training. And we train 4 days a week. We have classes beginning.
Every 4 days a week.
4 days a week. We don't do it on Friday.
Yeah.
That leads into Saturday, and other guys want to work on Saturday. It's human nature.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed.
So I can start basically at any time.
That's correct.
How long am I going to be going through the process as a trainee?
It's 2 days of training. You have to commit to 4 hours a day for 2 consecutive days, back to back. And it's a combination that we comply totally with OSHA's regulations, and they state that, you know, it's got to be hands-on training as well. So you're not just going to get classroom. You're going to get the hands-on training that you need.
They're actually going to get an opportunity to operate the equipment
Absolutely, yes. They have to pass a driver's test.
Really?
Yes, they do. And that's maneuvering through an obstacle course, trying to not knock anything down, naturally, but those things happen. That's how you become familiar with the equipment. When you're in classroom is where you want the mistakes to take place so that we can correct them for you.
Yeah, I would imagine that'd probably be the best place to do it. And I would imagine a place like what you have your training facility, you've probably seen many different kinds of accidents in your day.
Well, I've seen a lot that, you know, were totally unpredictable. You know, almost, you know, Twilight Zone type, you know, but you walk out saying, they're not going to believe this.
Yeah, Pete, how long have you been offering this school?
Since 1996.
So you got a couple weeks under your belt.
Yes, sir, I do.
And you're still here, so obviously, you know, you're providing a service for the business community and for the particular employees. What about the cost for going to how as a potential student, how do I fund this?
Okay. There are a number of ways, actually. There are organizations out there, like the Workforce Connection, or possibly the Bridge Academy, Read and Beyond. These are all different organizations that will fund people who
Really?
haven't got the capability.
And so, if I'm thinking about becoming an operator, and I could contact your school, you could provide me with that type of contact information, right?
We could certainly point you in the right direction.
Well, that's great. What else? What else do potential or even ongoing? Don't they have to recertify after so many hours or something like this?
Every 3 years. The longest certification permitted by law is 3 years, at which point they have to come in and recertify. That is a written test only, but it's just to refamiliarize themselves with the regulations.
And it's documented that they've had this, continued training, which is good for the employers.
Absolutely. Yes.
On their, yeah, okay.
They're given a new driver's license for forklifts that indicates how long that certification, when it was issued and when it expires. Okay, and they have to be prepared to produce that identification should OSHA come on site at any time. Yes.
So you got to have that with you.
Absolutely. Without it, you're staring at an exorbitant fine.
Pete, each time you come on, I'm learning a little bit more about this forklift profession. There's a lot to it that I never thought about.
There is, and it does become a little bit sticky sometimes, but the reality is you need to get into something, and if you're fresh out of high school, you haven't got a plan. You really don't know what you want to be when you grow up. Nobody did. we were all just kind of, kept our feet firmly planted in midair. But forklift, that's going to open quite a few doors for you. It gives you the opportunity to go into buildings and see what's in there and how do they operate. How does Amazon really move so much product in 24 hours? I mean, it's stunning.
Well, I never thought of it in those terms, Peter. But that for someone thinking about a career in certain fields and having this training and then being able to actually work, but not being employed by a particular type of corporation, you get a feel for how the business is and stuff. And in the meantime, while you're doing that, you're making some good money and maybe even supporting your education in college or something else. So
exactly, and and they're out there, and it's what they call shift work. Okay, you might be days, swing, or graveyard, and most of the time they'll give you a choice if there are several openings. But in either case, this is the experience you need to be able to go anywhere to start working. You have to have a background, and that forklift is nothing that be ashamed of.
No, opens a lot of doors.
Sure does.
So how do I get a hold of you, Pete?
Okay, we can be reached by simply picking up the phone and calling us.
What's that phone number?
Our phone number is 559 area code, and it's 325 8097.
Yeah, okay, I see it there on the bottom of the screen. Looks good. Do we have like a Facebook page or a web page, or we just contact you by phone?
We do have a web page. It's CFTC, the first letter of the name, at cftc.net. And that would put them in touch with our web page, and they'd be able to see all the courses that are offered and what's involved. Okay?
Very good.
So it gives them a brief description. They can come on down. We are just located right the end of the runway of the Fresno International Airport.
Yeah?
Yep, we're right there. I believe it's the corner of Chestnut and Dakota.
Chestnut and Dakota, right there.
Right there. The jets fly over us. We have to slow down and shut up, really.
There you go.
But we've managed to make a good living here. And it's relatively easy to find. And you can't fall asleep with those jets flying over your head.
Nope.
There's just no way.
And you get the class you need, the hours you need, and the hands-on experience. Well, that's great.
Exactly.
Well, Pete, thanks for being on the show again. Come on back. We'll talk more about this. Like I said, I'm learning more about forklift driving with each time you come on. And he's right. If you're a young person and you're thinking about what you need to be thinking about as far as what you're going to do with your life, having a license to operate a forklift opens a lot of doors. It doesn't have to be your final career, but it can sure go a long way in supporting you as you search for your final career. So, you might want to think about it. Give Pete a call at Certified Forklift and get that done. And I'll see you when we come back.